Hello everyone, welcome to this bonus stream. You know I can't stay away from this. Yeah, I had a meeting this afternoon and some errands to take care of, and I got done with those earlier than expected. So I will be doing another stream here because I'm very eager to get this tutorial system done, and what better way to do that than to do that on a stream. So we are going to be continuing work on the tutorial system that I started this morning, just a couple hours ago, and that's basically the goal. That's basically the goal of the stream. Again, probably not going to get anywhere near close to complete with this, but still building out the systems, still building out the framework for supporting the tutorial and all that stuff. So we will see how it goes. But before I get into it, of course, I have to do these ads, because everyone needs to know how you can support me. So you can, number one, support me the most by wishlisting Alchemortis if you haven't already. If you have wishlisted Alchemortis and you want to support me even more, there's the Patreon here, and you get a number of good perks for subscribing to this Patreon. This top tier here, if you subscribe for just 1 month, I will send you an Alchemortis Steam key at launch, and I will include your name in the in-game Alchemortis credits. So If you just want to subscribe for 1 month and cancel it immediately after, you will still get those 2 perks. I'll send everyone who ever subscribed for at least 1 month an Alchemortis Steam key, and their name will be in the credits as well. And then I also have my Udemy courses available for purchase if you're interested in those. That also helps me out quite a bit, but you also get to learn how to build complete games in the Godot engine. So check those out. You can also join the Discord. That's linked in the description below. Everything's in the description, so check that out. And that would be much appreciated. All right. Hello, Emerson. Welcome back. Good to see you again. Volg Developer, good night. It's 2:45 p.m. in your country. Well, that is the same time here, so you're in the same time zone as me. Good afternoon to you, Volg Developer. Welcome. A the Ant, hello. Good to see you again. Okay. So let's take a look at what we've got going on here in tutorial so far. So as a quick recap, what I did this morning is I set up a basic system wherein I can generate a tutorial map, and then I have the this little floating text here, which just kind of pans or sticks to the objective that I'm trying to highlight. So that works great, and this map is the tutorial map, which I can handcraft. So I can define by hand all of the nodes that appear in the tutorial map and where they appear. And I can also control, for example, which things appear in which combat nodes and all that good stuff. So again, the goal is to be able to tightly control the tutorial so I have control over what the player experiences during the tutorial. And so yeah, we're just gonna keep building on this. So if I go to this combat, we're guaranteed to have a villager and there's 25 health every time. And the beautiful thing about that is that if I go to my run manager here, all I have to do is, this is eventually going to have to be a little bit more sophisticated, but this is tutorial flag here. If I just change this to false, what we should see is that we just get back into the normal game here with the normal map generation and everything. And so, yeah, trying to make these things as non-brittle as possible so that I can just build the tutorial and not have to worry about changing a bunch of the game systems specifically to support the tutorial. Okay, so one of the next immediate steps that I want to do is I want to actually disable these buttons on the side here. So when I first step into the tutorial, I don't want the user to be able to, or the player, I'm speaking like I'm developing software, I kind of am, but I don't want the player to be able to click any of these buttons. So we're just going to introduce concepts one step at a time. So the very first thing the player is going to have to do is basically just click on the combat here. And that's going to put them into the combat encounter. That's going to open up the inventory. And then we'll say something along the lines of, you know, place cards on your board for combat or whatever. But I think the first step is to disable those buttons. So let's take a look at that. So those buttons exist in the drawer UI, which fortunately I have a direct reference to that in the run manager. So if I need to configure that drawer UI for this tutorial, I can do that from a top down, from the top down. But I do have this inventory button being able to animate away. And let me see how I'm doing that. Inventory pass-through control, inventory toggle button, yeah. So we got the inventory toggle button there. The alchemy toggle button is not animatable, at least in its current state. So I'm probably gonna wanna do something there. So let me look at how the inventory toggle button is being animated here. Inventory toggle button, find all references. So this is a drawer toggle button. It's a texture button. So these are all drawer toggle buttons. So I don't, I may be able to, let me think. This is a drawer toggle button, this is a drawer toggle button. So what I may end up doing actually is I may end up making the pass-through control the root of this scene. This is gonna be a little bit messy. Let's see. So I can make this pass-through control so I can easily animate it. Excuse me. So let me do this. Yeah, this is going to be annoying, actually. Problem is if I move this drawer toggle button... Well, maybe not. Hold on a second. Yeah, I've got a bunch of export textures here. Let me look at the drawer UI here. Okay. Yeah, that might be the way to do it, because then I can just share the animations. So let's go ahead and do that. So we'll add a pass-through control. Oh, the problem here, though, is that... Okay, we're not going to do it that way. I can't... I'd have to extend pass-through control, which I suppose is okay, but I think the easier thing to do here is just going to be... We'll just add another pass-through control here. And we'll put the alchemy toggle button underneath that. And then we'll do the same for the combat log toggle button. Pass-through control. Okay, but I can still move that animation into the toggle button. So inventory toggle button. There we go. Hide toggle button. Now this is not great, but we could put something in here. Public void animate in. Then we'll do a public void animate out. Let's create a reference to a tween here. Private tween. And we'll just copy this for animate in. Say tween is equal to that. Tween position. This. Size. Cool. And then we'll do the same thing over here. So we're going to do inventory toggle button dot animate out. Oh, did I do this wrong? I think I reversed these. Animate out. We're also going to want to do tween kill if valid. We don't want to have multiple tweens fighting each other. So show toggle button, inventory toggle button dot animate in. So probably going to need to have like a lock system for this, but we will handle that in a second. Okay. So now we can share those. Now the question is, how am I going to actually hide these initially if it's a tutorial? I think... Let's just do this. Bool force equals true. If force... Let's see, var target position is equal to vector2.left times size. If force, we're going to say position is equal to target position return. Otherwise, we will animate it. Okay, so we got the animate out. Now in the drawer UI here, I'm going to need to basically hide all those toggle buttons. This, I should probably rename this to hide inventory button. And then show inventory button. Okay. Public bool set is tutorial. Let's do set as tutorial. Void. Then we're going to do alchemy toggle button dot animate out, and we're going to force that, and we're going to do inventory toggle button dot animate out, and then combat log toggle button .animate out true. Okay, so now in the run manager here, what I can do is I could say drawer UI .set as tutorial here, and let's see if that works. So now all those buttons should be invisible. What the heck? That is not correct. Oh. Why is that only wrong for the inventory? Why is it only wrong for the inventory? Let's get rid of this for a second. All the other buttons are hidden properly. Hello, Jahar. Good evening. Eastern Time Zone Supremacy. Why did the villager have 25.5? Oh, no, he didn't. Everything's an integer. Hello, Clickertail. Time for game dev once again. Yes, it is. Welcome, Jackie Daytona. Good to see you. Hello, Ninja Link. Welcome, welcome. Time to make the donuts. No idea that streamers like to show their struggles. Is this learn in public? I think there are two kinds of entertaining streams. One where the streamer is hyper successful and hyper competent and you're like learning a lot. And the other one where it's the opposite, where you're just failing over and over again, and that can be entertaining as well. So we're maybe on a little bit more of the failure side here, but we'll see. So I wonder why that isn't working. It's using the longer panel, so maybe that's what's happening. I wonder if this pass-through control may not be the proper size, although I don't know how to indicate that. Well, I could look at just the remote scene tree here, I guess. So let's set this as tutorial. I think maybe the pass-through control. No, that doesn't make any sense. Oh, maybe. So this is almost correct. It's just not quite going out as far as it needs to, but none of the other buttons are here, as you can see. Wonder if I can like still click them. No. So that's just sticking out a little bit. I don't know why that's happening. So let's take a look at the, hello, Zachary. Welcome. Good to see you again. Let's take a look at the remote scene tree. I guess I'll just look for, well, this actually doesn't really help. Yeah, that doesn't help. Drawer UI, inventory pass-through control, inventory margin container, nope. Am I in drawer UI? Board pass-through control. I'm looking for inventory pass-through control. Oh yeah, I was on the right track. Frame container. What is going on here? Oh, here we go. So this pass-through control here is 34 by 30. This pass-through control here is 28. So, and this is what? This should be 34 by 30 as well. 34 by 30, but the position is negative 28. So this size here, when it gets animated out, is not correct. So I think maybe its size hasn't been updated, which is why it's not animating to the proper spot. So we probably have some kind of race condition, or not a race condition, just an order of operations issue here. Yeah, so these are all 28 by 30. So it's not detecting that it's actually 34 pixels wide, which is a little bit annoying. So what I may have to do is call this deferred. And maybe that will work. This UI node structure struggles so much with UI. Yeah, it can be a little bit overwhelming. Okay, so that's gone. Okay, so that's gone. And then we'll go up to the combat. All right, so this is the point in time where I actually don't want to show the inventory buttons here yet. Or maybe I do. Actually, this should be fine, because as soon as I beat this, I think it's going to appear again. So if I take a card... Yeah, so it appears now. So I'm probably going to want to show the alchemy. Yeah, okay. I think that's okay for now. I'm going to want to show the alchemy button next, so... Yeah. All right, we'll figure it out. Okay, that's fine for now. Hello, Neozoid. Welcome back. Good to see you again. Is there ever a case where you use C++ in your Godot project instead of C# or GDScript? Is there ever... Well, there has never been a case so far. Could there ever be a potential future case where that would be necessary? Maybe. But I don't know anything about C++. So... I try to stay away from it. I did think it would be interesting for me to do a video at some point where I attempt to make my first contribution to the Godot engine. So just find like a small issue that's open or been open for a while that I could reasonably fix and make that a YouTube video. I think that'd be kind of interesting, but no, I haven't done anything with C++ really since college, and I don't intend to in the future. Yes, you do. Users are stupid. JK, not JK. Hello, Bubblegum Lord. How's the progress on the tutorial going? It's going well. I haven't worked on it since we ended the first stream because I had some stuff to do this afternoon. So we're back right into it, basically right where we left off. Hello, Bone Circuit. Welcome. Bone Circuit, that's a metal name. 1-star Yelp review. That's a good idea. Welcome back. Good to see you. Lurking Neozoid. Okay. So we've got that done. So now we basically need to guide the player to put a card on their board. We probably want to disable this button at this stage as well. So one thing at a time. Let's detect the player putting a card on their board. So we're going to need to go back to my tutorial guide here. Let's create... We've got a state machine here. I'm going to just get rid of this for a sec here. State machine. Add state. State place card. And then we'll do private void state place card. And what we're going to do here is we are going to set the world anchor position equal to. Now, part of me thinks that it might be useful to pass some context into this tutorial guide so that it can reference some things. I think for now what I'll do is I'll just do Let's do context helper.boardmanager.getPlayerBoard.getCards.board inventory component get cards on board. So let's do this. Var player cards is equal to this. Okay, and then we're gonna just if player cards is equal to null. Actually, let's do this. If player cards dot count dot length is equal to 0, we'll just go ahead and return out of this state. Maybe I'll log an error here, but I don't think that's necessary. So the world anchor position is going to be equal to player cards 0 dot card node dot global position plus vector2 dot right. I'm just going to make this private static read only vector2 right offset vector2 dot right times 24, and we'll do right offset here and right offset here. And then we're going to want to change the text as well, but let me just see if that much works. So go here, this thing is going to go up here, move to confront them, boom. And then this should, didn't change the state. On travel entered. So we should probably hook into a different signal here. If I go to my run manager, I might have a signal for like combat entered or something. Yeah, combat entered. When is this? Emit signal combat entered. Okay, yeah, so we can definitely do that. So let's go to my tutorial guide here, and we're gonna do run manager, oops, dot connect, signal name, combat entered, on combat entered. And what I can do in here, on combat entered, is I can say if state machine dot get current state is equal to state start. Then we're going to do state machine dot change state place card. All right, let's see if that works. So we go up here. It did not work. All right, time to place a breakpoint already. Hello, Kanik. I really like your YouTube live UI. I've witnessed some streamers use Godot to make interactive and live integrated overlays. Is this also the case here? Godot could definitely be used for that. That is not the case here. This Stream UI is a combination of some locally running web pages with some just straight up image overlays. So the white borders that you see around my face and dividing the screen on the top and bottom, that's just a PNG image that's overlaid on the screen. And then the background, the purple kind of scrolling background, is just a web page that's using CSS animations to scroll the background. It's running just on my machine. And then it's the same for the little ad callouts that say like, hey, get my course. That's just JavaScript, doing some HTML element cloning and then replacing, iterating through a JavaScript object that has all the parameters configured. But yeah, you could definitely use Godot for that. Godot could work. It's just the web pages were a little bit easier to set up. Callable generic, what? Oh, I did this wrong. So I actually have an issue in my callable here. Combat entered, it passes the enemy board. So I was just connecting to that signal incorrectly. On combat entered, we'll just be lazy. Object underscore. Oh, it does not like that. Callable not from object. What? Okay, well, I guess we'll just pass in the board here. Okay, that should work. Godot can be used for personal UI. Still not working. We're already stuck. Godot has a nice Twitch API add-on. Interesting. I don't stream on Twitch though, but that would be nice. Player cards is 0. Oh, because I'm not get player inventory board. Goodness gracious. Okay. We'll get this right eventually. Oy. That is not correct. Okay. So I had a feeling that this was not going to be all that great here. So let's just evaluate this expression and see what that is. Negative 7853. That is definitely not correct. I will probably need this to be a little bit more sophisticated. Okay, let's try something different here. We're going to rename this to screen anchor position. Screen anchor position. No, that's not going to work either. Oh, I'm already off the deep end here. Maybe I'll just use 2. Excuse me. Oh, this is already bad. Yeah, pay no attention to the awful code. So when we leave the start state, we're going to set the world anchor position to null. State place card, we're going to set screen anchor position equal to yeah, that should work, I think. I don't know. I'm working on a skateboard factory game. Build parks, build boards, config settings to make different games. I configured Godot to help me make CSG shapes for the park and painting the boards. That sounds cool. That sounds cool. Hello, Pascal. Welcome back. Hopefully I can get some tips on coding. I just started with the same program. Yeah, welcome. Zapan Therath. Yeah, if you have any questions, feel free to put them in the chat. If I can't help you, then maybe someone else can. What is a quine in your preferred language? Okay, that seems to be working now. However, the problem is that that probably needs to wait here. So state place card. Let's see if this works. This is going to be a mess, but okay. A program that writes itself? Interesting. I've never heard that term before. Just made my start button. Oh, nice. Okay. So we're getting there. I'll play with all the positionings and everything later, but for now, let's just get all this stuff working. So here, ideally, what I would be able to do is stick this to the card so that as I move it, it will follow, but we won't worry about that just yet. So I want to get the card placement working. Now I do also have to handle what happens if you sell the card. I'm probably gonna have to block that off. Is this game for mobile or Steam? I would like to try it out. It's for Steam. Whether mobile will come, I don't know. Probably, well, it depends on how good it does on Steam, I guess, but yeah, it's for Steam. And if you want to try it, I will be running a playtest at the end of this month with the current build. The playtest will be open for a week for Patreon subscribers, and then it will be open for a week after that publicly. So if you subscribe to the Patreon, you basically get a week of early access to the playtest. And if you don't want to support on Patreon, that's totally fine. There is no FOMO here. Anyone who wants to try the playtest will be able to try it when the public playtest is available after the Patreon early access period. So yeah, only a couple more weeks to wait, really, before you could try it out. But yeah, I would love to get your feedback on it. Anyone's feedback, really. But I'm also going to be throwing in an additional incentive for anyone that leaves feedback on the game. So I'll be announcing that later, but yeah. Anyway, The goal for the next playtest is to gather as much feedback as I possibly can, so I'm going to try to incentivize people to actually give me some feedback rather than simply asking for it. Anyway. So yeah, I think this is working. We have to figure out what to do about the selling cards, but that's all right. So let's do this. Card mouse events manager dot connect. Card mouse events manager dot signal name dot card transferred. Callable dot from. Card transferred, base card from an inventory to inventory. Okay. Callable dot from, base card, board inventory component, on card transferred. Private void on card transferred. If state machine current state is not equal to state place card, return. If to inventory is not equal to context get player board, return. So this is where we're going to need to change the state into the next state. Let's do. We need to leave state place card. Begin combat. Okay, so leave state place card. Screen anchor position is equal to null. Private void state begin combat. We will figure out what to do in here, but I'm going to need the widget position on the drawer UI. Okay, we'll figure all that out in a second. Do you have tutorial videos on your channel? I do, yes, I do. You can check those out if you're interested. They're like more like one-off tutorials. They're not necessarily comprehensive like courses. If you're looking for a more comprehensive course, I do have Udemy courses, which you can check out if you're interested. But yeah, I do have tutorial videos on this channel. I think I even have them in a playlist called tutorials, but you'll have to double check that. Okay. And drag this over. Bang. I actually have no idea if that worked. Probably not. Value cannot be null. Oh, change state. State begin combat. So I'm going to need to get the widget location on the screen, which is a little bit kind of interesting. Almost wonder if I should put this in a context object. I probably should. Oh, why are these nested like this? Hopefully that doesn't break anything. Just going to copy all this. Go back to my tutorial context. We're just going to strip away everything that we don't need. Rename this to set tutorial context. Tutorial context. Game.data.tutorial. I don't think I need that, and I don't think I need that. So in my run manager here, set tutorial context. New tutorial context. Seeded run. Okay. And then in my tutorial guide here, maybe I don't need this anymore. Okay. I think that's fine. So now I have a bunch of context objects in here. The drawer UI, I think I'll just make a public combat widget. Combat widget is instance valid. Combat widget. Okay. So now in my tutorial guide here, state begin combat, screen anchor position, we're just going to set this to tutorial context.drawerui.combat widget dot global position, I guess. Okay, let's just see if that works. This is the last comment from me continuing coding, my friend. Awesome. Yeah, sounds good. Have you handled saving the game yet? If so, how do you go about it? There is no saving in the game yet. I still have to decide if I want to support mid-run saving or not. I suppose that would be useful. So for mid-run saving and loading, I probably need to... Well, I obviously need to serialize all the important things. The amount of... Yeah, I don't actually know how I'm going to do it. There's one approach, which is to serialize only the things that I've done, and then to, using the same seed, just regenerate the map and then mark everything as done. That's one approach to do that. So I basically just regenerate the map with the seed that you saved on. And then I look through all of the save data that I have that marks what I've completed and what I haven't. And just update the states of those nodes and update your inventory and all that stuff. That's one approach. The problem there is that, again, if I change the map generation logic from one version to another, that's going to break any saves. So I'd have to have some kind of like backward compatibility for that, which could be a lot of effort. The other approach is to just serialize everything. So everything that was generated for the map, just serialize all of it. And then rebuild that map from the serialization and then mark everything as complete that's complete and put the player in the right spot, all that good stuff. That is less prone to breaking based on what seed you're on. But the problem there is that, let's say that I serialize the contents of a booster or whatever, and then I change the booster behavior in some way such that the old serialization is no longer applicable. That would be kind of the same problem. So of course the easy thing to do is just to say you can't do any mid-run saving, but that would kind of suck. So yeah, I don't know. I'll have to figure it out. Saving settings in the next playtest. Settings are saved already. That's easy. That's just JSON for your save settings, but saving the actual gameplay data, that's going to be a whole big mess. Reason I got into coding was watching Stardew Valley creator video on how much money he made. Oh yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's very unlikely that you're going to make that much money. It's very unlikely that I'm going to make that much money, but I suppose it's possible. I suppose it's possible. You can serialize a version with each volatile piece of data and handle upgrading the save file bespokely, or just be okay with breaking saves for now. Yeah, I mean, one thing I could do is I could, if I'm careful with my versioning, and I'm very careful with noting what breaking changes are, what I could do instead is I could just, display a message to the user and say, hey, this save game is not compatible with the current version of the game. Either downgrade your version of the game, and I could make that older version available through like a Steam branch or something, or you can abandon the run and just start a new one, right? That would be an easy way to do it. So I wouldn't have to, or an easier way to do it, so I wouldn't have to necessarily pay too much attention to breaking serialization and deserialization. The other option too is that, like, if I detect a breaking change on, let's say, a booster node, I could just regenerate that booster node when the map is loaded so that it has the proper configuration and just disregard whatever serialized data is there. And then, of course, reserialize it to that new format when the player resaves the game. So there's a lot of approaches. I think that there's pros and cons to each one. And I'm just going to have to think carefully about that. Yeah, you're welcome. I took the other route and selling the factory as a full price up front with possible chance of new work down the road, but not expected. Don't save anything to have all the assets. You will end up repeating yourself or revisiting save code with every new asset. Yeah, I mean, it's possible. I mean, I think there's arguments both ways. I think there's an argument for building your save system from the ground up, and there's an argument for waiting until it's, the appropriate time to do it. I don't think saving and loading the game is going to be that complicated. It's just I'm going to have to be very mindful of the different considerations, that's all. How do you add music? Does it have to be Wave or OGG? Well, if you're just asking generally how to add music to like Godot, yeah, you can use basically any audio file. You can use Wave, you can use OGG, you can use MP3. It just gets imported as a standard resource, then you can use that in audio stream players. But if you're asking how music is done in this game, I have a little bit of pre-processing that happens on the music. So I have a high definition music track, and what I do is I crunch that down to a lower bit rate, lower sample rate audio file. And then, so I save that as like an MP3, for example, and then I reconvert that back to a wave. And I do that so that I get some kind of like, it sounds a little bit lossy, because I'm trying to create like a little bit of a retro feel with the sound effects and everything. And so the sound effects are made a little bit crunchier by having lower bit rates as well as lower sample rates. But yeah, that's me specifically for Alka Mortis. All right, so the combat widget here. Do I want to expose this? Let's try that. I wrote a program in Godot that gives me noise synth chords patterns. I have to manage 250 lines in a very large text file and all the sound data. Got sick of hunting audio, clearing it for copyright, and now do waveforms. Yeah, that's a way to do it, for sure. For me, I'm paying my friend to do the music, so I don't have to worry about that. I'm not doing the music myself. Okay, that seems to work. I'm probably going to need to modify that offset, but that's all right. I produce music as well and wanted to incorporate it into my game. If you're still using rendered audio, save as mono, rebuild to stereo with code. Just saved you 50% of all audio cost. Paying a friend is always good, yeah. I mean, I'm not really concerned about audio performance at all. The audio playback could be 10 times as expensive as it is right now, and it wouldn't make a difference. I'm assuming you're talking about processing cost. So yeah, I think this is going. Obviously, I need to change this text now and change the positioning of some of these elements, but I think we're getting there. I think we're getting there. I deal with super low-end devices, so my solutions are extreme for today's toys. Gotcha. Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. Hello there, Savior. Welcome, welcome. An easy way to get that retro style is using a bit crusher. It's non-destructive and can process audio in real time. No need for multiple files. Should save time too. I looked into that. I didn't really find anything that was ready to use in Godot. Now, maybe that's because I didn't look hard enough, but I'm not, like, the files that end up in the game are lossy, but I still have all of the original lossless files. So it's just the files that end up in the game that end up being lossy, and I've automated some processes for doing that as well. So it's not terrible. Okay, I'm going to take a quick 3-minute break, and when I come back, we will continue on. Probably need to start editing the text here, but yeah, we'll figure out that as we go along. But Yeah, there's still a lot to do with this tutorial system, so I'll be right back in just 3 minutes and we will continue on. All right, I'm back. BFXer is ported to Godot in a couple of forms. Godot SFXer. I will have to check that out. I think I may have looked, because when I was looking into the sound effects stuff, that was like at the beginning of the project. So that was what, like, I started the project in March of 2025. So I had evaluated that kind of stuff within a couple of months of starting the project. It didn't suit my purposes for some reason. So I'm going to have to go and revisit that. Maybe I missed that one. Maybe I looked at it and said, oh, this is not really what I'm looking for. But we'll definitely check it out. My game, I implemented Animal Crossing style dialogue and sound effects. Nice. Is that all programmatic as well? I would assume so. Okay, so we need to start changing the text for these tutorial guides. So let's see in here. So I'm going to copy this and I'm going to put tutorial text here. Let's get a reference to this rich text label. Okay. A rich text label. Okay, so set initial state, state start. We're going to do rich text label dot text is equal to this. Okay. State place card. Yeah, so what do I want to do in here? State begin combat. Rich text label dot text is equal to place a card on your board to prepare for combat. Something like that. We can change this. I probably want to turn auto wrapping on here as well. Do I already have auto wrap on? Yeah, it's already on. It's on by default on rich text labels. Okay, and then state begin combat. Rich text label dot text. Click the combat disc to begin the encounter. Okay, let's see if that much works. All programmatic got the sound effects on open game art. Very nice. Mumble effects as spoken word is something I need to implement. In my version, I would start with a wavetable and skip the download. Yeah, I guess that's what I meant by programmatic. Like, yeah, there's one approach, which is to just play sound samples at certain intervals, which I think is a fine approach. But there was another approach, which is, you know, you'd actually generate the waveforms with code as it's happening. Not sure which approach would be better, but deal 4 damage. Click the combat disc to begin the encounter. Okay. All right, so we've got some positioning issues here. We've got some other issues, but I'm tired of looking at this white square. So we're going to go on a little bit of a detour, and I'm going to go to my GitHub. I'm going to do this off screen because I don't want to reveal any private information, if there is any. But I'm going to go to my GitHub and I'm going to look for my GMTK entry and see if I can find that skull. Scully! I found it. Let's go ahead and download this. Okay, I'm going to take this Scully, put it in my Alka Mortis directory, assets, UI. I'll just create a new tutorial folder. Again, I'm still doing this off screen, but we're almost done here. All right, put Scully in there, and we'll just do tutorial guide.png. Okay, so now we've got the tutorial guide in here. I am going to have to edit this, but let's just go ahead and change this type to a texture rect. I'll put this in here. And the layout, let's just get rid of the custom minimum size. And we'll do keep centered. We can see how this works before I change the colors. Yeah, if we give it a little bit of an animation. Yeah, we could do that. Okay. Let's do a sprite. Tutorials are overrated. Just say good luck and call it a day. Yeah, having to design a game for lower end hardware must be, sounds like a fun challenge, but definitely a challenge. Me, I'm just like, for all intents and purposes, I have infinite processing power and also infinite RAM. I don't mean that exactly, but I do kind of mean it in the sense that I'm not really paying too much attention to those things. And by not paying too much attention, I mean no attention at all. I guess this can turn into that black color. That can turn into white there, and we can do red. No, orange for that, and then we can accentuate this with some red. Yeah, I think that's fine. Save that. And so this should look a little bit more like it belongs in Alka Mortis instead of the other game. Yeah, I think that's cute. I like it. Okay, fine. All right. Okay, fine. All right. We're going to add an animation to it as well. I'm going way off the deep end here, but I want to make it kind of look nice because I'm tired of looking at placeholder. Okay, we've got the guide sprite here. Let's just go ahead and add an animation player. Default. We'll change this to autoplay loop. Okay, guide sprite. Let's go ahead and do the animation. No, transform position. We'll go to 0.5. Still don't like these default snapping settings, but that's all right. Let's record. Change this to cubic. Change the length to 2. Change this to 1. Okay. Give it a little bit more motion, a little bit more animation. Okay. That looks a little bit nicer now. Okay, we can focus on other things now. So yeah, the positioning is a little bit off here, which is probably all right. I may actually just hard code these positions. So instead of trying to get the card global position here, I think what I'll do is I'll just do new vector 2, 102, maybe just like, I don't know, 48 plus right offset. So we don't need to do this. We can probably get rid of that as well. And this async. And then for the combat anchor down here, screen anchor position, where is that? Combat disk global position. Let's do combat disk global position. Vector 2 dot up times 32. All right, let's see what that does. The tutorial pointer's positioning is looking good. After some visuals, it will work well, I imagine. Yeah, I'm thinking so. I'm thinking so, but we'll see. That's probably too far off to the right, but that's okay. Put this here. Click the combat disk to begin the encounter. So this one, 48 there. This is a little bit too far over. I guess this right offset isn't really helping me much. I thought that would be like a universal kind of padding there, but I guess that's not going to work. Let's just do times 16. Infinite power is fun, yeah. How do you guys come up with the min specs for your Steam games? I just made mine up. It looks really good. Yeah, I basically just asked ChatGPT. I was like, what is a reasonable minimum spec for a 2D game that doesn't have a lot going on? And then I basically just copy pasted that. Because the thing is, like, this game is going to run well. I mean, maybe outside of like a very specific hardware configuration that I have not encountered or seen. But I would be very shocked if this game runs at less than 60 FPS on basically everything, even like 11-year-old, 12-year-old hardware. I could almost guarantee that you could take a 12-year-old laptop and play this game flawlessly. So it's like whatever, you know? Min specs potato, yeah. Hello, this is God. Do you plan to release your game on Android? Doc says C# does not work well on Android. I don't have any plans to release on mobile. All the porting, like console porting and mobile porting, that will have to be a consideration that's made after I release the game. Basically, I want to see if the game is going to do well on PC first before I spend any resources doing that. But let's say that, you know, I sell, hopefully, tens of thousands of copies on PC, and everyone's like, I would love to play this on my phone, or I would love to play this on my PlayStation or whatever. Then yeah, I will consider it at that point for sure, but I'm just trying to do one thing at a time here. I'm only one person. There is, oh my gosh. There is a fox running through my backyard right now. Hold on a second. Well, that marks a first for me. I've never seen a fox in my backyard. That was fun. I see plenty of deer, I see plenty of squirrels, I see plenty of groundhogs, but never seen a fox. I saw a coyote once in my neighborhood. Ah, what a beautiful creature. Anyway, back to this. So the other problem is that this tutorial text is kind of sitting on top of everything, which is a problem. I suppose I could just like, well, it's just gonna sit there, huh? I gotta figure out how to get this rendering to work. Skeleton warrior, place that there, click the combat disc to begin the encounter. Yeah, so I'm gonna need to do some sequencing there as well. Uh-oh, such a funny response to reading this is God, yeah. Imagine the compute in the aircraft chair. Have to consider this level of device. Oh yeah, that's true. Almost never wise to target multi-platform up front. My philosophy has been to design with the possibility in mind, but not to cater towards it. I'll work on my cloning device. What did the fox say? I don't know. It's a sign. Do I have to add a fox to my game now? Maybe I should do that. Should it be a player card or probably an enemy card? Which is fox. Do I already have a fox written down? I don't. Okay. I'll make sure to add that. But did you see Sasquatch? I have seen Sasquatch one time. He knocked over a bunch of 100-foot tall oak trees, destroyed my cabin, threw a giant boulder at me. No, I've never seen a Sasquatch. No. You live in a rural area. I don't. That's the thing. I don't live in a rural area. Solution, position at top right instead or mid right. Well, it needs to be close to where the player is supposed to take their Oh, that's not right. Needs to be placed close to where the player is supposed to take their action. Hello, intra-compiler. Welcome, welcome. Just want to say your Godot live streams is one of the very few in-depth ones I can throw in the background and have a great time while it's learning some cool things. Awesome. Yeah, appreciate that. Thanks for joining. Thanks for being here. Bro, we need to get that guy throwing boulders. Is not cool, yeah. Foxes are pretty common here in the cities in the UK. Yeah, I think they're not super common where I live. And I don't know why that is. I don't know if this is not like a typical fox territory or what. Or if it's just there's so many suburbs around that they just don't have a habitat. But apparently that one does. Apparently that one does. You said I'm only one person. Have you considered vibe coding? Vibe coding your long-term projects is bad news. Okay, anyway, I think, yeah, so we got to figure out, we got to get this working too. So there's a change that I want to make to that anyway. So let me just commit this. More work on tutorial. Okay, that skull is actually very cute. I'm glad I lifted that from a previous project. But anyway, this combat disk, this combat widget, I want to... How do I do this? Do I want to make this a clickable control? How am I actually... This combat widget is kind of old, so I'm using a bunch of mouse handling in here that is not... That is not typical. So I may actually rework this. This combat area here, I'm using an Area 2D to click this. Why am I doing that? Was there a good reason why I was using Area 2Ds here? I guess probably because it's not a rectangular clickable area. That's probably why, but I have a solution for that now. So I've already committed what I have. Excuse me. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to add a new clickable control. We'll put the combat disk underneath this. Let's just move this over. So this, let's change the size. Okay, I think that's fine. So we put the combat disk under that. This combat area here, why am I using this? Because what I could do, I think, is I could add a polygon 2D. Can I create like a circle polygon easily from here? That's not a circle. What happens if I do like a collision shape 2D? If I do a collision shape 2D, there's a shape resource. Let me look at the shape resource. So this is only for collisions. Inherited by circle shape 2D. So I was hoping there would be a way to like check if a point is inside of this, or maybe get like the underlying polygons underneath the shape, but I guess that must not be how it's implemented. I forgot. I don't think Area 2D has a way of detecting, like, if the mouse pointer is inside of it. I think what I have on here is I just have this as pickable or something. What is that property called? Pickable, yeah. So input pickable. If true, this object is pickable. A pickable object can detect the mouse pointer entering, leaving. The mouse is inside it. Report input events. Requires at least one collision layer bit to be set. So I think probably the reason why I'm using these collision shapes is because this is a circular shape, so it shouldn't really have a rectangular area. Now I could forsake that, but the problem is that I still need the speed disk is still going to have to use those. So let me take a look at this clickable control. Shader material, duped material. Outline target material is equal to duped material. Configure duped material. Outline target is canvas group, outline radial material, outline radial material. So the outline radial material, load shader material that. Okay, outline radial material. Is there a problem if I just do... Let me put this back. Let's put it on the combat disk highlight. Outline radial. If I put this material here, what will that do? I'm gonna go here, here, click the combat disk. Oh, it needs to be tweened as well. Yeah, that's why I would like to use a clickable control for this, because it manages all that stuff for me, but I don't know if I'm going to be able to do that. You can remove the code from the vibe, but you can't remove the vibe from the code. Also screw phone keyboards, yeah. Nice swirl loops in the spheres, thank you, yeah. It's a very simple effect, it's just a shader that scrolls two textures opposite directions, and then they're just masked with a sprite. That's about it. Very simple, very effective, I like it. Reminds me kind of a Diablo-esque kind of style. What do you want, cat? Come here. What? Cat is just circling. Come on. Okay. Here he is. We got him. We caught him. We caught the beast. Do you have something to say? Do you have something to say? No. Okay. He's got nothing to say. He had a lot to say when he was circling around my chair bothering me, but now that he's here, oh no. Got nothing to say. What am I going to do about this? Can I create... Is there a way of creating... I could use a collision polygon? No. Polygon 2D. I mean, one thing that I could do in here is I could just draw. So if I get rid of this collision area here, I could do this clickable control here. And I could do a polygon 2D here. And then I could just do a very rough, like, outline of this. It's not going to be, like, perfect, which is probably going to annoy me, but maybe I'll just try it out first before I... Okay. Maybe I'll end up constructing it in code so it's a little bit more precise, but Maybe I'll just do... We'll do one at each of the ends of the circle, and then we'll do one like this, kind of. It doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to generally match the area where a player would click. So we've got that polygon 2D. So what I could do with this clickable control is I could do outline target as combat disk. And then I could do visibility toggle target as outline disk highlight, combat disk highlight. Then I can get rid of this combat area, I think. And that should basically get me there, I think. I don't know. We'll have to see. So we can hide that collision polygon. Can I hide that collision polygon? I think I can. And then since I got rid of that combat area, I'm going to need to figure that out. Also, there's a question of if that's going to overlap with anything else in the UI in an unfortunate way. I guess we'll find out. Node private clickable control, combat disk clickable control. And we'll rename this. Mark that as a unique name. I think if this works, this is actually going to be a lot easier for me. On combat area input event. Okay, so I think I can just, let's do combat combat disk clickable control dot clicked plus equals on combat disk clicked. We don't need these things anymore. We don't need this. We don't need that. So that simplifies that. And then combat area, combat disk, clickable control dot hover entered. Combat disk, clickable control dot hover exited. On combat area, hover entered. Oops, I spelled it wrong. What in the heck, man? I am doing too much. Okay. Is this just... Okay. I actually don't need these things. I guess I should have checked that. Well, those things can go away. Goodbye. That's going to be automatically handled for me. Change to combat. So this combat disk clickable control dot enable mouse input. Remove input lock. Change to combat. Where is this called? Oh, this is public. Uh-oh. I guess that's fine. Change to speed disk. Combat disk clickable control dot add input lock, so we can't hit it anymore. And then in here, force change to speed disk. I don't know what that means. Combat disk clickable control add input lock. All right, let's see if that works. I'm removing the input lock. Yeah, so if I go here. Move this over. Oh, you can see how it's outlining now. And it's lighting up now when I hover over it. Very nice. So you can see that it does that little outline animation. So that indicates that it's clickable now. And when I click this, so I put this over here. I click this. Okay, it's still intercepting my mouse events, which is a problem. But what I may end up doing is I may just switch all of these to using not areas as well. So yeah, that's probably what I need to do. I can still click the auto resolve, I think. Okay, so we've got a lot of different things going on here, but I think that is a better change. Now, what I want to do is I just want to make sure that if I turn this tutorial flag off, I want to make sure that I didn't break anything in terms of the normal course of the game. You should consider bouncy bone hand that points to highlighted feature. I'm a sucker for those. I could do that. I could do that. So instead of the skull, it's like a hand. The reason I was kind of thinking of doing it, the reason I didn't want to do a hand is because the mouse cursor is also a hand right now. And so I didn't want to introduce some confusion where like the player is looking at the tutorial hand thinking it's their mouse and they're like, why isn't it working? So that's why I used a different symbol for it, but I could definitely consider doing something like that. I don't think it's out of the question. Yeah, so I can't click those because... So the way the input handling in Godot works is weird. If you have a control node that doesn't handle an input event... Actually, what is my clickable control doing when I disable add mouse input locks? Input disabled. Okay, so the interesting thing that's happening is that when I disable a clickable control, I'm not actually changing any of its mouse filters. So those mouse events are being intercepted, which is why I can't click on anything that's underneath it, even if it's disabled. Now, I think it may be possible to change that behavior, but the problem is I'm using that clickable control in so many places that may introduce unexpected functionality. But I could try it. We could try that. Actually, I don't want to put that back just yet. Well, maybe I should. Hello, Emerson. Welcome back. Good to see you. So yeah, I can click these now. Maybe that's what I want to do. I don't know. So I do this, and now I can still click these. So that's a stopgap solution for that. I probably do want to translate these over to clickable controls at some point, but... yeah, maybe that's good. Maybe that's all right. Can I help you? Can I help you, Kat? Maybe that's good. Regardless, that change is good for sure. So I definitely want to keep that. Yeah, I will actually want to change these to clickable controls in the future. So maybe I will do that. That's going to be kind of hard though, because these things rotate. And so I'm going to need to set up the polygons that mask or that set up those areas very carefully. Interesting. Well, we'll figure it out, I suppose. We will figure it out. Anyway, we don't need to worry about that just yet. I think the change that I made here is okay. Tutorial looks pretty good already, thank you. Yeah, we're getting there. It's just there's a lot of conditions to to handle. And honestly, the most difficult part is just figuring out how to get this to work with all of my existing systems without introducing a bunch of conditionality and spaghetti all over the place. So that's really the hardest part. But while I'm thinking of it, let me change this. Use clickable control for combat disc. So that's a little bit nicer. Clickable control for combat disc. What was the other thing? Oh yeah, when I go to the drawer UI here and I do animate out, drawer toggle button. Let me look at my drawer toggle button. Drawer toggle button. The mouse filter here is stop by default. So we'll say mouse filter is equal to mouse filter enum.stop. Animate out mouse filter is equal to mouse filter enum.ignore. Okay, so that should fix another issue that I'm having. So we set the is tutorial to true. I love spaghetti. Spaghetti is good. Okay, so I shouldn't be able to... Before I was able to click the buttons behind here, and now I can't do that anymore, so that's good. Okay. Put this here, click the combat disc to begin the encounter, and that should highlight to show the user or the player what they need to do. So I click that. Obviously, this needs to go away. But yeah, we'll just let that play out, like the player will be watching it, and then this guy can reappear and say, hey, here's your combat rewards. Here comes the cat. Hi. I'm streaming, buddy. I'm working. Can I work? Sorry, guys, the stream is paused. The cat apparently wants attention right now. Oh, he's done. He got his fill. He got his fill. All right, so I'm just trying to think of what the next best step is here. I think it's okay. I think it's okay. So I do need to control the outcomes of this. This layering is a problem. I don't want that to render on top of the... I don't want that to render on top of the tooltips here. So that's a problem. Let me just take a look at this again. Inquisition is aware of your dark presence. Place a card on your board to prepare for combat. So now the problem is, do I want to allow the player to drag it back in the inventory? Probably not. See, there's just like a lot of sequence break opportunities here, which I'm going to have to guard against, right? So I go here, and I could put this on the board and then go back and start this, and then I'm going to lose. And I don't necessarily want to show the resurrection here right now. So that's a problem. Another way that I can break it is I can sell the cards, and now I can't, there's no way I can progress in the tutorial. Another way I can break it is I can open the inventory with the hotkey, which is tab, and put these cards over here. In which case, this doesn't make sense anymore, and I have to drag a card over to the inventory and back to trigger that. So yeah, I just have to kind of control for those things, I think. But the problem is I want to control for them in a way that doesn't impress upon the player that they can't do something. So I guess what I mean by that is, if I prevent the player from being able to start the combat in the tutorial with nothing on the board, I don't want the player to think that they can't do that in the game. Now, maybe that's something I still need to figure out, because you can start a combat without anything on the board, and maybe I should just not allow that. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. These are all good questions. Well, what we can do for now is we can get through the happy path. We can get through showing the tutorial as if the player is doing everything that the tutorial intends for them to do. And then what I can do is I can do a pass after that where I go in and I prevent all of those like sequence breaking things. So that's probably the way forward here. Yeah, I think that's the way forward. Hair flex. Do you like it? Do you love my locks? Anyway. All right, let's just do the happy path then, and we'll figure out what to do about all those sequence breaks in the future. I think that's probably the most reasonable thing to do right now. Give me 1 second here. All right. All right, so with the happy path in mind, let's just think about this. Synchronization is aware of your dark presence. Place your card on the board to prepare for combat. Click the combat disc. We probably want that to disappear after the combat starts. So let's do that. Oops. Disable drawer, toggle buttons when animated out. Commit that. All right. So yeah, we'll go to the tutorial guide. Run manager.connect. Run manager signal name, combat. So we have combat entered. Where is the combat started? Oh, it's in game events. Okay, so we can listen for that. So game events.instance.connect. Game events.signal name. Combat entered. Combat started. On combat started. Private void on combat started. If state machine current state is not equal to state begin combat return true return. We're going to change into the state machine dot add state in combat. Leave state in combat. Private void state in combat. I really am trying to do as much as I can with respect to the tutorial in this script here. That's not entirely possible, but if all the tutorial logic can just exist in here and respond to signals in the game, I'm going to be in a much better situation than I would otherwise. So in state in combat, we're just going to do game or guide container visible is equal to false. And then let's do also state machine dot add state combat victory, leave state combat victory. Okay. Game events dot instance dot connect. Game events signal name combat victory, callable from on combat victory. Let's do those two states. Private void state combat victory. Choose your treasure and press forward, something like that. Screen anchor position is equal to new vector 2. I'm just going to guess here. Let's do 4, 350, 80, something like that. Okay. And the other thing is I did not change this control to be mouse ignore. Ignore. Mouse ignore. Mouse ignore. Okay. See what happens. It's a problem for future Firebelly. Oh, I forgot to put leave state combat victory. Private void on combat victory. If state machine get current state is not equal to state in combat, return. State machine at change state, state combat victory, state in combat. Okay. Hello, Mr. Jinth. Haven't been able to tune in for a while. How's the game coming along? Hope you're doing well. It's going great. I'm having a lot of fun with it. I think it's getting better and better by the week. And yeah, I mean, there's still a lot of work to do, but it's coming along. It's coming along, can't complain. I'm very excited to hear what you guys think when the new playtest comes out, because I've changed a lot of the core systems of the game. I changed how the boosters work. I changed how the alchemy works. I changed how the board unlocking system works, or how the board size increase system works. What else did I change? I added a new currency type called alchemical residue. I can't remember in the previous playtest if there were alchemical reagents or not, but I certainly expanded the reagent system. So yeah, all in all, there's a lot of new stuff, and I'm hoping that all of it, or most of it, is positive, and you guys enjoy it, but we'll see. 808 state. Just finished my live stream and came here. What did I miss? Welcome back, Wooey. It's good to see you. We're working on the tutorial still. I can't remember if you were in this morning stream, but we're still just working on the tutorial here, and we're trying to make it work. Just a few reagents. So do you remember if there was a reagent node that you could visit on the map, or was a reagent just something that you could get from a booster? Oh, the other thing I added is combat rewards, right? So now you can choose a card when you finish a combat encounter. That's also a new thing. Place a card onto your board to prepare for combat. Cards will execute their abilities when their turn comes up. Click the combat disc to begin the encounter. So we do this. Yes, the node is in the last playtest. Okay. You've defeated some of the Inquisition's forces. Choose your treasure and press forward. So I'm going to want to control these as well. But we'll grab this, and we'll put this back into my inventory board. So now what I'm going to want to do at this point now is probably introduce the alchemy system. So from this point in the tutorial onward, I'm probably going to want, the alchemy system, and I'll have to set up a whole tutorial for that. And I'm also going to have to make the results deterministic so I know which card the player is getting out of it. So that's going to be the next biggest part of the tutorial. There's going to be a lot of opportunities to break the tutorial, but we'll figure it out. To get early access to the playtest, I have to subscribe to your Patreon for the $15 a month tier, right? No, you can do either tier. Let me just make sure that that's said explicitly on the Patreon. I think both tiers will give you early access to the playtest. Yeah. So either this tier or that tier. Early playtest access you get for $5 a month. Yeah, I'm gonna try to have that the playtest out by the end of the month, but we'll see. But yeah, the top tier here is like a pre-purchase of the game. So yeah, but you don't have to do the most expensive one. And again, for everyone watching, like you will be able to access the playtest if you don't support on Patreon. You just have to wait until the week after the Patreon members get their early access period of time. So yeah, all the support is definitely appreciated, but definitely do not need to subscribe to the top tier to get early access to the playtest. Pre-purchase of what I want. Yeah, pre-purchases, yeah. So yeah, if you do subscribe at the top tier for at least 1 month, so you could just subscribe for 1 month and cancel, I will send you an Alcamortis Steam key when the game launches. And that will be sent to the email address that you used for your Patreon account. And of course, I'll be around, like, we don't need to think about this all the time, but you know, I'll be around in case there's any issues with that distribution system. You will get your key. So yeah, just if you want to subscribe, you can, and then I will make sure that you get your key one way or another. And that'll be great. Okay. So I think that's probably a good stopping point for me. More work on tutorial. So that's probably a good stopping point. Still a ton of work to do. This is probably going to take all week to get this in a good state, but it needs to be done. And I think it's going to improve the quality of the game quite substantially. So anyway, again, that's it for the stream. Thank you all for watching. Thank you for being here. And yeah, if you want to subscribe to Patreon, of course, I very much appreciate that. I just went through those benefits, those little perks that you get if you do. You can also wishlist Alcamortis on Steam if you're interested in it. I would very much appreciate that. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, join the Discord. All of those things are linked in the description below, so check those out. And yeah, hope you enjoyed the bonus stream. We did like 4 hours of streaming today, so that's nice. And I'll be back at it tomorrow at 10 a.m. Eastern. So what is that, in 17 hours? I'll be back in 17 hours. Okay, anyway, take care, everyone. Hope you have a great evening, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.